Episode 239. Today we're talking about some standouts in last night's matchup between Colorado and Pittsburgh. And it was a really close game, a low scoring game, especially throughout most of it. And it was later on in the game, I believe Casey Middlestat managed to get the go ahead. And it was a really nice seam pass from Val Nichushkin to be able to make that pass and make the aerial play over to Middlestat on the weak side of the crease. And what I was really intrigued by when I saw that play, because I don't remember if it was a power play goal or an even strength goal off the top of my head right now, but when I watched that goal and I watched Nichushkin come out because they had two guys near the net front, it was Nichushkin and they had Middlestat. And I watched Nichushkin pop out. I really thought that he was gonna try and stuff the puck home. And then when I saw him kind of corral the puck closer to his body and then make a saucer pass over to Casey Middlestat on the weak side, I was like, wow, that's a really smart play. Because for one, the odds of stuffing it into the net on the short side is really low because the goalie is usually hugging his post and the goalie is usually tighter to his post because he's much more easily able to make that read because it's on his strong side versus when he comes out and then he makes the pass over the weak side across the Royal Road, much more difficult save to make. And it sounds counterintuitive because usually you just think the easy approach would be to stuff it. But I'd say if Nichushkin just tried to stuff it, I don't think they would have scored there. So it was just a really nice pass, really nice display of skill, execution, and just handling skill in small areas from Val Nichushkin over to Casey Middlestat, and then eventually Colorado go on to win 3-1. I think on both sides it was just a an interesting game. I think like a lot of the top guys from both sides stood out. I thought Rickard Rakell was good. I thought Sidney Crosby was good. I thought Eric Carlson looked noticeable in terms of activation. Of course, when you look at Colorado, Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar, just those guys are going to create chances pretty consistently and pretty regularly. And actually, Colorado ended up winning 4-1, so not three. But like the top guys are gonna get their chances. They're gonna create. Like you're gonna notice Crosby. You're gonna notice McKinnon. You're gonna notice McCarr. Like those guys, it's inevitable they're gonna create their chances, but it's just about how do you find ways to negate them and negate some of their impact as a defensive player. You're not gonna negate all of their impact as a defensive player, but you can negate some of it and just limit some of their speed and control them on the outside. So that's the main difference when it comes to the the star players and trying to defend them. I think it's obviously still a challenge when you're trying to defend two Nathan McKinnons, one being McKinnon and one being Cale Makar. It's basically watching two McKinnons out there for Colorado. Just the way they create offense, their tempo, their rhythm, how they are in transition, how they create offensively, and there's a lot of danger in terms of how they attack too. Like Makar yesterday, his activation habits were just unbelievable. I was watching him, especially when he was carrying the puck. Like there's times where he looks really assertive when carrying the puck and especially in transitioning and using his handling skill and his speed in the neutral zone. And when he gets going, especially when he has space, like a little room to work with, and he's at full speed, he's really hard to stop. So Makar is one of those guys, you give him a little bit of space, he's gone. And he was showcasing a lot of that yesterday. He was doing a really good job of creating off the hop. He's got tremendous foot speed, tremendous gear tempo, and just the ability to change gears, up his tempo, up his pace, up his rhythm of his game. It's really intriguing and just a really exciting player to watch from the back end because he's really more of a forward than he is a defenseman, but he can still play really good defense at the same time, which is awesome. So I think with him, it's interesting. And then we talk about Eric Carlson. I thought he was steady. You don't notice as much in terms of like the activation that Makar has, but you see a little bit of it in a lesser version where Carlson's a guy who he will activate, he'll sprint the weak side, he'll sprint the dot lane, he'll be active in transition, he'll be active in the neutral zone, but he doesn't have that gear that Makar does to be able to up the pace as quickly as he does. I think with Carlson, what's really interesting is if I'm a team looking to acquire right shot D, I would honestly stay away from him. I think unless Pittsburgh retains around half of the money, I don't really see how Eric Carlson could be really worth it and I believe I've mentioned this before, but him being 34, he's got, I believe, a $10 million cap hit with Pittsburgh, and it's at least over 10. I know that. It's between 10 and 11.5 in terms of his cap hit. I just don't know how much San Jose retain. And with Carlson, it's like, I feel like you could get better options because he's another player who's all offense, no defense. And I feel like if you're acquiring a player of that caliber, you have to have a reliability factor at both ends of the rink. Like that's why I don't see Dallas going after him. That's why I didn't really see him going to Florida either. I just didn't think it made much sense for Florida to do. And I think they could have spent that Kachuk money in a more smart way elsewhere. But it's interesting. I think Eric Carlson, I don't think he gets moved. Again, he has full say in terms of what they decide to do too. I don't think he gets moved. I don't think he wants to get moved, but it's just an interesting situation with him heading into the trade deadline in a few days from now and how that whole situation is going to play out longer term as well.